Bruce, let's bring in our first guest, our weekly guest, the coach, longtime coach of San Diego State, also USC, and he's a member of our team selection committee, and this is our team selection report. Welcome to the program, Ted Tollner. Coach, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Mark and Bruce. Good night. Hey, I'm glad you're having Leon White on. I was involved in recruiting him to BYU from Helix High School. He was a delightful young man and a great player.
Well, you'll have to call in at 457-1090 later in the program.
Ask him a question about, what was it like to play in the Holiday Bowl back in the early 80s. But anyway, we'll get into that later.
So Coach,
I'll leave that up to you.
All right, that's a deal.
Coach, before we talk about who's going to be in this year's games, we'd like to switch it up a little bit. Okay. And last night we had a nice event at the Hilton Bayfront down in San Diego, downtown San Diego. We had a reception for the alumni clubs, the San Diego alumni clubs from the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Great event. And, Coach, you got up there to speak, and I tell you what, when you were done, I was ready to strap a helmet on and run through a wall. You fired up that crowd. So that got us thinking a little bit. What were you like in the locker room before a game? Were you a good motivational speaker for your team?
Well, you always like to think so, but I was not a ranting and raver. No, but when I thought we needed it, I was. I mean, I think you have to be. One of the things I learned early in coaching was you need to be yourself, and so I wasn't every day a real vocal, hard-nosed guy like that. But when I thought they needed it from playing well or not playing well or how we were practicing, and so I kind of used it as I thought need be. And but the key, I think, to all that is you got to coach within your personality.
So we're going to find out if Coach Ted Tollner had a certain type of personality. So
that's very true. But now, first of all, Coach, who do you look at, like, who's known to be one of the better or best pregame speeches?
Well, I had the opportunity to work for a bunch of guys that have won Coach of the Year honors, but I personally felt like, in the locker room of really being able to do it day in and day out, game in and game out. John Robinson was really hard to beat. He was really outstanding in that particular area. And all coaches have different strengths and weaknesses, and you play to your strengths and you work on your weaknesses, but I thought he was outstanding. And I hate to pick one, but that's how I remember it, as he was so consistently outstanding.
Okay, so we did a little research, and we dug up a pregame speech here, not from you, but this is from the current coach at Boston College, Steve Addazio, and we want to get your take on how he does in his pregame speech. Here you go. Roll it, Jaime.
Now, what we have to do is we got to play 60 minutes, 4 to 6 seconds relentless. We got to fly around the field. We got to have a lot of juice. The coaches will be flying around. You'll be flying around. We're playing as a team. We're 100 and whatever strong.
All right. Now, Coach, did you ever get that emotional in a locker room, pregame or halftime, anytime during your career?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not on a regular basis, but, certain games are that way. And that was well done there, but it was not unique. I mean, just about everybody I worked for that was a head coach that had that responsibility at some point had a talk like that where it's very emotional but it's need be. I think the key on that is certain things can wear players out. I mean, you got to feel the pulse of things, and you got to go from game to game and day to day on what you think fits, and that's really where it comes in versus a one-time deal. And that was outstanding. I'm not saying that wasn't, but to me, the key is being able to adjust from week to week and day to day on how things have gone.
All right, you're listening to Bowl Game Radio. I'm Bruce Binkowski along with Mark Neville, and we're speaking with Ted Tollner, a weekly contributor to Bowl Game Radio every Wednesday night right here on the Mighty 1090. So, Coach, we talked about the pep talk. Did you ever go into a locker room so mad at your team that you just let them have it? Just let it go?
Yeah, there's no question about that. And normally it's when you underachieve. You're not playing with any effort. If you're behind and you're playing hard, then there's a different approach. But I think when you really get upset, at least for me and all the other head coaches I work for, it's when you're underachieving. I mean, you're out there and you're playing like you're half asleep. You may get into you're not supposed to use profanity, but there may be a few of those that slip out too. But it's the fire and fight in your voice of how disappointed you are in the ragged play and the lack of effort. And they got to hear that. And then you hope that you have some leaders on your team that, especially in the NFL, the leadership, a lot of that comes from your players. more so than college. But even there, you got to have some leadership in the locker room where the right players are saying the right things when you're not playing good.
You know, Coach, we were going to play Al Pacino's pregame speech in any given Sunday. A few too many four-letter expletives, so we had to get that one out.
Didn't have time to beep them out.
It was fairly realistic, but I don't think it's for the radio show.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So let's talk San Diego's bowl games here now, Coach.
And, can I take one more thing? Last night I was really impressed last night. You know what impressed me the most was between the teams that were represented from the Big Ten and the Pac-12. They were wearing their colors, and there was one gentleman there. I don't know whether you guys took a picture with him. I did. He was a super senior, and he had a hat on that had all the Nebraska national championships, and he was so proud of that hat. But just seeing the variety of colors and interest of different schools, it was really a neat evening.
That was a great night, and it's a good segue. So let's talk a little bit about the National University Holiday Bowl. Hold on,
but I got a text, Coach. I just got to tell you. Remember, I just asked you about, you ever get mad and lose your temper and let your team have it? I'm not going to say one of your ex-players what his name is, but I got a text and it said that Coach T invited us to give our scholarships back on more than one occasion. So,
well, if they played like they didn't deserve it, they needed to be told that.
Well, I'm sure
somebody's good donations and not working up to it.
Oh, obviously it had an impact because he still remembers those speeches. All right, now let's talk selection.
Yeah, let's stick with the National University Holiday Bowl, since you were just talking about the night last night. And the Pac-12. And I really, the surprise team, I think, in the conference, and I think many would agree, the Utah Utes. As they're sitting here, they have been a surprise, some big wins on their schedule already, and now they're heading into a big weekend. On Saturday, they're going to be hosting USC, and then they got some tough games after that. Do you think Utah has it in them to maintain this high level of play?
Well, first of all, I'm delighted that they've surprised all of us. I mean, I like Kyle Winningham a lot, and it's sitting there at 5-1. I'm delighted. But you look at the rest of their schedule now with USC and Arizona State and Oregon and Stanford and Arizona, and then they finish somewhere near Colorado is. But that's going to be hard for them to match. I mean, if they can go 500 the rest of the way, I think they're really doing a sensational job. And that would still be an outstanding year if they can do that.
Well, then, Coach, then using that analogy, if they were to knock off USC, which is not impossible.
No, not at all. It's up at Utah.
Yeah, and this would be their season. I mean, you would think that this is their biggest game of the year to this point, but then that would set the tone for Utah, and certainly would set the tone for SC as well. So this is a big game for both teams.
Oh, I think so. No, it'll have a lot to do with what happens, because there's so many matchups right now that's the case, because they're all going to play each other. The records are outstanding when you have that many teams that have 5 or more wins at the midway point. And then they're all going to play each other. So there's going to be a lot of excitement going on here in the next few weeks. But this week will set the tone from the Utah-USC game, yes.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you think is going to win that game?
Well, I think USC has better players overall. I do. And that doesn't always mean you're going to win. And on the road, you get a little edge. Utah's a hard place to play, and they'll be fired up, and they're playing well. But I think, player to player down the line, I think USC has overall more quality players than Utah has, and so I would pick them.
All right, so let's jump over now to the Big Ten. Of course, we're getting a top-tier pick out of the Big Ten, and really the conference has righted itself after a little slow start in their out-of-conference schedule. They're really the creme de la creme is starting to rise to the top now. So with Michigan, Michigan's had an interesting season as they're sitting here right now at 3-4. A lot of heat on Coach Brady Hoke, a guy who he's really in his dream job right now. Do you think he has any chance of maintaining his job after the season's over?
I hope so. I think there's always a chance. I mean, you can turn it, but right now, the odds are not with him right now. I mean, if you listen to all the stuff, and the only ones that really know is the athletic director and the president and Brady. Everybody else has an opinion based on who they think their input goes to. But I would say the odds are not with them right now based on where they stand and how they went into the season with expectations and what they've got left on their schedule. It's going to be difficult.
So for the National University Holiday Bowl, I think it's safe to say we still don't have a clue who could be in the game, but we do know it's going to be 2 great teams from the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. I think that's a fair statement.
I agree. Can I throw one more game at you? I'd like to get your opinion on here, Coach.
Uh-huh.
Ohio State at Penn State. A really interesting matchup.
It is. Again, I can't help but, even though Penn State's a difficult place, Ohio State is a better football team than Penn State. And so when you're trying to pick a team, I mean, even though we all know there's upsets every week, the team with the better players normally wins, and I think Ohio State will win that game.
Now let's move to the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. Big game for the Poinsettia Bowl this weekend. Navy, if they're bowl eligible, will play in the Poinsettia Bowl. They have 4 losses in 7 games. They have San Jose State at home this weekend. Coach, what would you tell your team if you were the Navy coach? What do you have to do to beat San Jose State?
And would you pull scholarships?
No, I think, they know that they're at the end of the road now. They're going to come to the Poinsettia Bowl. That's what they want. They had an invitation before the season to win 6 games, and they haven't achieved at that level. And I think they've underachieved to some degree at this point. And what's left on their schedule will not be easy, but they got to stand up. If they want to participate and come to San Diego and be in the Poinsettia Bowl, then they got to stand up this week. And that's what they're going to. I don't think there's anything wrong with telling them that. Hey, we've run out of times that we can lose games. We have got to be strong from here on in, and it's got to start with San Jose. And what they're going to do, philosophy-wise, offensively and defense, I wouldn't have a clue, but I know they're going to address and approach the fact that it's the end of the road. If we want to be in bowl play, we got to stand up and we got to be heard this weekend.
And on the other side of the coin, out of the Mountain West Conference, there's still just so many games to play, so many options available to the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. It could be anybody from San Diego State to Air Force to Boise State to Colorado State to Utah State to even San Jose State could be in the picture. So right now it's just a lot of games, a lot of football to be played.
It really is. And there's so many teams that have records that are capable. The one that I was looking at today that surprised me, and I think I'm correct. Now, Fresno State is sitting at 3-5, but the rest of their games are conference games they could win. And they could end up with a 6-2 conference record, which if San Diego State would slip anywhere along the road in a conference game, they could end up tying San Diego State for the west part of the Mountain West. And because of winning the game, may play in the championship game, so they're not even out of it. But they're going to have to run their last 4 games because they've already played 8, but they're games they can win.
Wyoming, San Jose State, Nevada, and Hawaii. You're right. Those 4 games Fresno State could win, and who knows who will be in the San Diego.
It'll be exciting, and Colorado State has had a big year, like you mentioned. I mean, they really have, and Boise is expected to have big years, but Colorado State's got their program going again and hasn't really been to that level since Sonny was there, and so they're going strong again, and Air Force is going strong. So there's a lot of football to be played. But I was shocked when if I did it right, that I thought, Fresno State's not even out of it, and they're 3-5.
No, you're absolutely correct. Ted Tollner, Coach Ted Tollner, thanks for joining us on Bowl Game Radio tonight, and we'll be talking to you every Wednesday night through the college football season to figure out who's going to play in the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl and the National University Holiday Bowl.
Enjoy it, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
All right,
thanks, Coach.